Okay, hi, hello, salutations, it's me, Admiral Dorbo, I'm back. I'm less mad than last time, not by a great deal. I can't remember the last time I was betrayed so thoroughly and distressingly and despairingly, if you will, by a game. I'm gonna carry on, and I'm gonna do the voices for real. I'm not gonna just half-ass it like I did at the end of last episode. At least until the game slights me again. But I feel the need to recap a bit of last episode and why it annoyed me so much, just to get it off my chest. So the previous trial, Kyoko was elsewhere because she was exploring with her magic key that goes to any lock, unbeknownst to everyone else. Right before the trial, she shows up again. Makoto's like, "Where were you?" And she was like, and she waits till everyone else, like they wait till everyone else is gone, and then Makoto takes her aside and is like, "So where were you?" And she's like, "This is between you and me, basically, but I used this magic super special key. I figured out what it does. It goes to every room in the school." She gives him this information. In true Kyoko fashion, we can only assume she had some reason. Perhaps she slipped him the key and it's gonna go to this big old door here in a minute or something. But she gave it to him in confidence anyway. The trial carries on, and it basically transpires in the end that with the way things are set up, it looks like the knife that... No, it wasn't the knife because they decided that wasn't the murder weapon because of the arrows that magically didn't have any blood on them after being used to strike someone to death. After everyone just sort of decided, apropos of nothing, that the body had to have been killed that particular night and that the wounds that were a few days old didn't matter. Everyone decided they had to have been killed with a blunt object, and then Makoto guessed that the arrows might have been it, and someone might have taped them together, and somehow blood ended up on the inside of the tape, but not anywhere on the arrows. And don't even pretend that they used the tape to try and get the blood off of the arrows, because if they were going to do that, they wouldn't have put them in the same place. That doesn't make sense. So they magically somehow struck this person in the back of the head with a bundle of arrows that this person's blood magically appeared on the inside of the tape used to bind said arrows, but not anywhere on the arrows. They then hid both the bloody tape and the arrows in the same place. And the woodblock key that is used to open it, which Byakuya, mastermind that he is, eventually figured out that it goes to the 6th locker, not because it has a big old 6 on it, but because it was the only one with the key missing. Again, they didn't half-ass any of this. Okay, sorry, I'm already riling myself up. So because the key was found by Makoto and Byakuya in Kyoko's room, we're saying either, Byakuya was like, Kyoko must have put it in her room, and then Kyoko was like, well, I didn't have my key, you did. And so because Byakuya has an alibi, because we're just stating without possibly being able to know that this person was killed during the time he had an alibi, with that assumption, the two options are, basically the only option was that Makoto planted the thing when he went in there. So everyone thought. And so it looked bad for Makoto. And Kyoko then to Makoto's face is like, because I had no way to get into my room. Like she was hinting for him to then bring up the other thing. The thing that she just told him would let her get into the room. And he was like, and Makoto was like, wow, that lie was super obvious. I wonder what that was about. But I don't want to incriminate Makoto. Flash back to her saying, you can't run away from danger. If there's a contradiction, you have to pursue it to lead to the truth. We have to uncover this mystery. And so he goes, what should I do? So that plus the combination of their relationship to that point, with the whole thing being her learning to let him in and give him the information as she finds it, because her having trust in him is not only a weakness, and his whole thing of setting harder and harder boundaries for her to trust him with her plans, seems to come to a head here, and it's like, okay, she gave him this information, and then to his face said, I have no way to get into that, is trying to lead him into that. And then they said the don't run away from danger thing, so even though it looks like calling Kyoko out will result in tragedy, it's like, don't run from that, just do it. But no, the second he brings that up, Kyoko just goes, fuck, I wish I hadn't given that. I guess I lose, and then bad ending. What I think they were going for is... So the setup is Makoto, she's trusted Makoto with something that she needs him to have for later, but needs him not to accuse her with now. So he literally holds her life in the palm of his hands, and she's trusting him really hard with it. And so that choice of pursue the lie or let it go is meant to be sacrifice Kyoko or risk me. Risk Makoto. But it's not clear to me. It wasn't clear to me at the time that was what the choice was. Because you'll remember at that point, Makoto didn't want to believe, he didn't think that he killed them, and he didn't think really that Kyoko killed them. And I might remind you that Makoto at that point doesn't appear to have realized that Monokuma is bullshitting everything and has no rules, and is just saying the Blackened is whoever. So he genuinely and earnestly thinks that if Kyoko gets voted, everyone dies, and if he gets voted, everyone dies. So the danger level really is the same, which is why I assumed when she said, Makoto, I had no way to get into the room, it was like her trying to say, I know it's dangerous to present the evidence, but do it, because I have a plan. There's no way in hell she would have given him that information about the key to him if it wasn't vital. And, you know, if we're in this situation that apparently what they're saying is she gave it to him and then just hoped he wouldn't use it. If he goes, well, Kyoko, if she says that thing, I had no way to get into my room, looks at Makoto, and then he's gonna present the evidence and she does nothing, she dies. So I assumed if that wasn't what she wanted, she would have, like, I don't know, given him a wink or said, Makoto, I know what you're thinking, but don't. Or even when she gave it to him in the first place, just tell him, this will be important, but not during this trial. It'll be bad if you bring this up too early. Like, literally, really just anything. Other than doing nothing and going, well, I lose. Because there's no reason not to at that point, right? Because if you say nothing, it's over. So even just, like, the slightest, Makoto, please don't. Anything to give him a sign would have been the smart thing to do. And then, of course, the nonsense that the same thing happens. They both are voted to be executed, regardless of what, like, basically the same outcome, except by chance, Alter Ego decides to save Makoto and not Kyoko. And I get it, oh, he's the lucky student. Okay, that's cute. It's not an explanation. His luck has thus far in the story not been present enough as a factor to suggest that he can just be saved from instant death at any random time by magic, okay? So it annoys me because it's presented like it's a test of, like, your faith and Makoto's bond with Kyoko. Like, does he trust her? But what they're saying is, does he trust her enough? But the thing is, it assumes that your understanding of it is the same as theirs, that if you pursue the lie, Kyoko instantly is killed, and if you don't pursue the lie, Makoto's instantly killed. And so it's like, do you sacrifice her or sacrifice you? And you're supposed to be like, oh, well, I should be a hero and sacrifice me, and then just by, like, literary justice, that turns out okay because you did the right thing with your stupid luck. But the setup is so, I mean, to me, so obviously trying to push you towards pursuing the lie. Because again, Makoto does not think Kyoko is the killer, so to pursue the lie and potentially get her voted out and executed... Is my lip bleeding? Biting my lips so hard out of annoyance. Pursuing that lie is the danger that Kyoko, I assume, was warning about in the flashback. Like, they don't play the flashback for no reason, right? So ultimately, what I think they're trying to do is, it's a situation where Kyoko's put a lot of faith into Makoto and has put trust in him that she give him basically a weapon that could end her life, but she's asking him not to use it because she wants him to have the information later for something, I assume. She didn't just give it to him for no reason. But in trying to obscure that and make it the mystery and not just straight up say, sacrifice Kyoko or sacrifice Makoto in the choices, they've made it too vague. Well, not that it's made it too vague, I think they've made it too clear, but in the wrong direction. I genuinely think the majority of the evidence points to pursue the lie being the risky but right thing to do. So it's presented as a morality check, but it makes no goddamn sense. And then, of course, the fact that it went into, like, a joke ending that's just like, oh, we fit another sex joke in there. It's like, great, well now, that kind of undercuts all the tension I was feeling. And that whole thing feels like it undercuts the whole arc of Makoto and Kyoko. I no longer feel that they've built up a level of trust to where Kyoko could say, I have a plan, you need to trust me, and Makoto will be like, okay, I believe you're doing something smart here. Nor do I believe that Kyoko has any understanding of the importance of letting other people in anymore. Because the game just proved her wrong. She let Makoto in and gave him information, and, like, let him in on her plan, and it instantly backfired and killed her. So, the character development, to me, has just, like, all regressed back to Chapter 1 with Makoto and Kyoko. And they've undercut the tension with a stupid joke ending. And I just can't for the life of me see how this benefits the storytelling. Because, like, they're all like, Kyoko's like, the mastermind's laid a trap for us, and if you vote for me, it'll all go down in a bad way, so I can't let that happen. But then does nothing to stop it and does everything to make it happen. It's just like none of the characters are acting in accordance with the arcs we've established or their basic character principles. And it's presented as a morality check. It just makes me insane. I mean, obviously, we don't understand yet why Kyoko would have given him the key. Like, my annoyance is that at the moment, what it feels like is they're just saying, Kyoko decided to trust Makoto with some random information, and it happened to come back to bite her. But if you're saying that, you're saying her whole character arc to this point is just unlucky bullshit, and the development and bond she has with Makoto means nothing. In which case, why was I invested in it then? So I like to believe that she gave him that information for a reason. But if the reason was that so he could, like, unlock a door down when he fell into a garbage chute, which she couldn't have possibly known, and it seemed like she thought he was generally going to die. She had no reason to tell him... Never mind. Let's just carry on. But yeah, that arc totally dropped the ball for me. Not only it dropped the ball, shrink wrapped it and put it back in the store, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like my investment in everything that's gone on is now plummeted because I don't understand where the characters were leading up to. And that kills me because I liked where I thought it was leading. And again, it's something that's so easy to fix. If you want it to be a morality check of does Makoto trust Kyoko or not, say that! Like, I didn't get that Kyoko was trying to signal for me to not use that piece of evidence. What it would have been helpful there would have been if Makoto had a little internal monologue that said, it kind of seems like Kyoko doesn't want me to present this. Why could that be? Can I trust her judgment on this? Yes, I trust her, or no, she must be lying and she's the killer. That's really what they were asking, but they presented it wrongly. Again! Okay. Carrying on. I was in a vast dark cavern with the bare scent of light seeping in. Trash was piled high all across the area. This must be some kind of underground garbage pit. Heck of a situation to find myself in. But that was just the beginning of my problems. Was I going to be stuck in there until I wasted away and died? No, I can't let that happen. Not after what my good friend went through to save me. I need an emotional support plushie. Every time someone says something that annoys me, I'm gonna hug my boomerang bro. I remembered all too well what had happened. Alter Ego saved me after he used up the last little bit of his strength to do it. And he used the last little... and he used up the last little bit of his strength to do it. So I can't give up now. For myself and for my friend. And with that, my pursuit of survival began. First step was to start looking for a way out of there. How about door? It's locked. No matter how many times I pushed or pulled or kicked at it, it didn't budge. Getting out of here isn't going to be that easy. Well, if I'm not getting out of here anytime soon, I decided to look around for some food. There's plenty of food here, but it's all rotten. But that was pointless too. Next, I searched for some water. How can I be sure which liquids I can drink and which ones are an all-around bad idea? Again, pointless. I feel like I'm blocked in on all sides. But that's still not enough reason to give up because I'm still alive. As long as I'm alive, I'll never give up. After making that proud declaration, the next thing I decided to do was go to sleep. My sleep was deep and uninterrupted. That was my only way to preserve what little strength I had left after not being able to eat or drink, and also falling like 600 feet, but whatever, he's the ultimate lucky student, so rules mean nothing. I'm fine. I'm fine. I can't be sure, but I think at least a full day had to have passed, and all I did was sleep and sleep. It's like I was waiting for some kind of sign to come falling out of the sky. However, what fell from the sky wasn't a sign. Not exactly. It was Kyoko. What the? The strange sound pierced my silent isolation, jarring me awake. As I watched, the pile of garbage jostled and formed an odd shape. Did something fall down over there? Also, the thought that the mastermind who's meticulously planned out every single inch of this school wouldn't have, like, a camera or some kind of security system installed in the garbage pit is wrong. It didn't happen. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a fictional piece of fiction being fictional. Surely they just didn't think of it because they had some reason. Did something fall down over there? Something fell from up above. What could it have been? Several garbage bags, Makoto. Did a giant piece of trash just fall down here? I carefully stretched my hand out toward whatever it is that had tumbled down here with me.
Just a second.
A giant piece of trash? Rude. Before she even emerged from the pile of garbage, I knew who it was.
It smells...
This place smells awful. Kyoko? You look like you're doing better than I expected. What are you doing here? Isn't it obvious? I'm here to help you. I'm glad to hear that, Kyoko. You got a bit of garbage in your hair. She gave her head a quick, sharp shake to get rid of the trash and faced me again. Hey. First, I have something for you. Go ahead and eat it. We can talk about once you're finished. Thank you! I snatched the bread and water that she was holding out for me. Within seconds, it was in my mouth, making its way toward my stomach. Oh, that really hit the spot. Now I've got all the energy I need to keep going. So you still haven't given up, then? Of course not! After all, the fact that I can keep going forward is about all I'm good at. Well, that's not such a bad thing to be good at. Guess you're right. Let's look at some garbage together. This is a desk. It's probably the one that fell down here with me. Yes, maybe so. That's a rocket and a tank. I better not think too much about what I'm seeing down here. That looks like the thing in the opening video where someone gets locked in it and then dies. Is that an airplane? How'd something like that wind up in the school's garbage pit? I better talk to Kyoko. Yeah, I wish I could enjoy the image of her falling down here in a bag with A can of SpaghettiOs on her head. But Kyoko, why'd you come to rescue me? To pay a debt. Or no, to atone. Atone?
You.
During the trial, even though you knew I was lying, you didn't say anything. So you knew that I knew. Yes, because she told you before the trial. What?
Indeed.
But even though I knew, I did nothing to help you. Abandoned you. Don't say that, you didn't abandon me. No, that's exactly what I did. I abandoned you in order to save my own life. You were trying to save me, and I couldn't bring myself to do the same for you.
However...
But listen, not that I'm trying to make excuses, but... Oh, that annoys me even harder. I think it's pretty fucking clear. Sorry. I think it is rather evident, if you have watched this playthrough to this point, that you would know if I understood what the choice was that was being offered to me, I would have gone to save Kyoko. So the fact that I was not understanding the choice that was presented to me should be further evidence that it is bullshit. Okay. But listen, not that I'm trying to make excuses, but there was a reason that I had to survive no matter the cost. I can't offer you any other reason than that. I really am sorry. I don't need to pry about what that reason was. Oh, apparently I do. Never mind. Sorry. Why did you have to survive?
It's true.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. The reason I have to survive is so that I can do what I came to this school to do. What? I made up my mind to come to Hope Speak Academy for one very important reason. So you have some reason for coming to Hope Speak?
Indeed.
That's right. At least I did once. Once? Until recently, I'd forgotten what it was. You forgot? But that's... So was it something to do with investigating the tragedy and you came here? And when you saw that room, it reminded you? I had no memory of what my purpose was. No memory? That's impossible! Amnesia? I don't feel like that's how that conversation went. I don't remember. What? I have no memory of what I am. You have no memory? You mean... amnesia? But whatever. Then, is it really true? You lost your memory?
Makoto.
Do you remember Makoto? Do you remember the first thing that happened to each of us as soon as we arrived at this school? The first thing? You're talking about when we fainted, right? I fainted, and when I woke up, I was trapped here.
That's right.
I fainted too, and when I woke up, I noticed a strange feeling of separation within myself. A disconnect.
It would seem...
Thinking back on it now, at that point my memory was gone. At that time, I'd forgotten. I couldn't remember why I'd come to this school, and I couldn't remember what my ultimate ability was. But what would make you forget all that?
Hey.
Strange, isn't it? It's hard to imagine it happened by chance. It seems much too convenient. Lot of that going around these days. Are you saying you think you lost your memory because...
Indeed.
I don't think. I'm positive it was the work of the mastermind. They stole my memory. Yes, we know, because the photographs. This is not news. This is not a plot twist. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But why would they want to do that? There's only one reason I can come up with. It was some kind of social test about if people who were friends before would become friends again, or if they would kill each other or something. Because of my purpose and my ability. Somehow they would interfere with the mastermind's plans. But we're supposing something happened to everyone's bodies, right? And also that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because why would they pick you anyway? If they would have to wipe your memory. But anyway, sorry, that's fine. That's maybe that was it. So the mastermind just stole them from you?
However...
And it could also mean somehow my memories may be connected to the mystery of this school and the mastermind. Which is why I have to get them back. And that's why I've been investigating things by myself this whole time. But if what you say is true, why didn't you ask the rest of us to help you?
Why is that?
If I did that and we all worked as one, the mastermind would have noticed right away. What? Noticed what? Investigating around the school like we all did all the time? Plus, there's always the chance that the mastermind is actually one of us. What? Well, don't make too big a deal of it. It's just a possibility. But since it is a possibility, we can't ignore it, right? The mastermind, one of us. If she believed that, then of course she couldn't trust anyone around here. Her. In which case, it only makes sense that she would look into her missing memory by herself.
However...
Sort of. That being said, there was a limit to what I could do by myself, which is why I asked you to help me. But why me? Because among everyone, you were least likely to be the mastermind. That was just intuition, but I see. Your intuition was right, though. There's no way an ordinary kid like me could have been the mastermind.
I understand. I should understand everything. My goal isn't to get out of here. It's to stay here.
It's just like the dream I had before, but why did that just happen?
Listen.
Are you okay? Oh, yeah, it's nothing. It is nothing, right?
Hey,
Even now, I still trust you, you know. It's just, I'm not used to relying on others.
correct.
I know I never asked you for help the right way, so I understand if you're not convinced. Honestly, I was convinced. I think that's just her personality. You said you had a reason for doing all that investigating on your own, so how'd that turn out? Were you able to remember anything?
So,
I think there's still a lot I don't remember, but at the very least, I was finally able to recall my purpose and my ability. You mentioned your ability. My ability, what everyone should have known me for. I'm the ultimate detective. The ultimate detective?
correct.
And the reason I came to Hope's Peak Academy, there was someone I had to find here in the school. The mastermind, the headmaster, I mean. I assume you had to find someone? Who?
So,
Well, it was the headmaster of Hope's Peak Academy, because that's the only person in the school that she's been like, that person made me feel a thing just now. And we brought it up. Headmaster? Why did you want to find the headmaster? They're your dad or something. Because he's my father. What?
in other words,
Sorry, I'm trying not to half-ass this, but it feels so half-assed, okay? It's hard to care. 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 But I'm gonna try. 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 But it's like the most like dun child Sherlock Holmes novel twists is like every line. Feels like. I was separated from him as a child. As it turns out, he became the headmaster of Hope's Peak. Kyoko's dad is Hope's Peak headmaster. That this place. When Ultrigo told us how he thought the headmaster was involved. I'll find a way. No matter what it takes, I will find the
no
headmaster.
matter what.
No matter the cost.
So,
Kyoko, what's going on?
I,
My memory hadn't come back at that point, but when he said that, I felt strange. It makes perfect sense now, of course, since my whole purpose for coming here was to find him. That makes sense.
however,
But listen, Makoto, I want to make this perfectly clear so there's no misunderstanding. I said the headmaster wasn't the mastermind, but I didn't say that to protect him. I only said what I felt based on what I'd seen when I snuck into the headmaster's room. Then what did you see in there?
so,
The room had been ransacked. The shelves were a mess, the desk drawers dumped on the floor. The only conclusion is that someone who didn't know where anything was had been in there. You mean the mastermind, right?
it's true.
That was my assumption, yes. And to confirm my suspicion, I decided to investigate the second floor of the dorms using the key I'd found. Why there? Because I also found this in the headmaster's room. This is some kind of map? Okay, so why did you tell him about the key before the trial if you were intending to have him fall down a garbage dump and follow him down there? And if you didn't know he was going to fall down a garbage dump, you thought he was just going to be executed, why did you bother telling him about the key? There is no reason for her to have told him about the key, except for that conflict. Which is why it doesn't make sense and ruins the morality check and the flow of the story. This is some kind of map?
Indeed.
It's a layout of the entirety of Hope's Peak Academy. I found it in the headmaster's room along with Mukuro's profile and that key. The map showed that the second floor was home to a number of rooms meant for faculty use. Some of the staff must have had to stay overnight from time to time, and I figured the headmaster would have some kind of private room there. I assumed that if that were true, the room would likely hold more clues, so I went to check,
Correct.
and that's when I finally remembered. I remembered that my purpose was to find the owner of that room. So you went there to see if the headmaster really did have a private room there.
However,
But once I got there, I noticed that the second floor of the dorms didn't have any cameras or monitors. So what was it like? That part of the school, I mean. It's hard to describe. All I can say is, the moment I saw it, I realized. Whatever's going on in this school is more horrific than we ever imagined. What do you mean?
so,
I can't explain it. You need to see for yourself. And I'm sure you'll get your chance soon enough. Were there like clones of us all in there? It sounds like it must be important. And really ominous. But hey, you've got the key with you, right? So we can get out here? I had no idea what was going on in the rest of the building. It has to do with Mukuro Ikasaba, doesn't
However,
it? Just to be perfectly clear, I didn't kill her. And I know it wasn't you either. I know you're right, but that just means everyone but you and me had an alibi, so then who did kill her?
anyway,
What I can say for sure is that the mastermind is directly involved. To begin with, the point of the class trial of Mukuro Ikasaba was to get me killed. Get you killed?
indeed.
I stole that key and disappeared, and in retaliation they wanted to draw me out and eliminate me.
Correct.
That was the point of the class trial. It was? The mastermind knew they couldn't interfere directly. You mean because of the school regulations?
That's right.
Exactly. With minimal restrictions, you are free to explore Hope's Peak Academy at your discretion.
In other words,
The mastermind is adamant about following the rules, and with that rule in place, they couldn't step in. The mastermind is not adamant about following the rules, because they would have killed Sakura when she enacted violence on the headmaster, killed Sakura when she broke the lock on the door, or they wouldn't have lied about who the Blacken was in the first place. He had no problem executing Kyoko, who was not the guilty party. And yet all the other students remained unexecuted. This game does not care about the rules, and nor do the characters, so don't even say that. That's just insulting, man. What you're saying is they broke the rules to follow the rules. They had to pin the crime on someone who didn't do it, so that they could... Like, what are you even saying? Since they couldn't kill me themselves, they tried to use the class trial to do it. The mastermind couldn't step in because of the rules? That makes it sound like the mastermind themselves is somehow bound by their school regulations,
Hey.
i.e. they're a student. There's one other thing I'd like to point out about the murder of Mukuro Ikasawa. What's that? There was a point where Mukuro may not have become the victim. It could have been you, Makoto. I could have become the victim?
Indeed.
You know what I'm talking about, right? When the person broke into my room with the knife? Do you mean... before you busted in to save me? During the night? I can hear them, you know. The footsteps of the god of death. What? I can hear the god of death as he moves. That ability naturally draws me into cases just like this.
Anyway.
Which is exactly what happened with you. I was in the dorms and I had a sudden sense of dread. I looked down the stairwell, and I saw a white shadow across the corridor. I gave chase right away. As I followed it, I saw the shadow go into your room. So this is why when Makoto was all like, I felt like I saw someone fight it off, but it was like I was watching my own body do it, because he was watching Kyoko do it. Like he was just kind of sitting there in stupor. I ran into your room and saw what was happening. I intervened immediately, of course.
However...
That wasn't the end of things, of course. I stopped them, but that led to... Whoever the mass assailant was, they ended up dead.
Correct.
And their murder was disguised, and the dojo key wound up in my room. It all has to be the work of the mastermind, in an attempt to use the class trial to eliminate me. So are we maybe trying to say Mukuro is the mastermind and just took her own life to frame Kyoko? So all this would mean that whoever killed Mukuro is also the mastermind, right? I don't have conclusive evidence, but that's what I think. That's really bad if true. It means the mastermind can kill whoever they want if they feel like it. Wait, but doesn't that create another contradiction? The mastermind wanted to use the class trial to try and kill you because they couldn't interfere, right?
Correct.
You're right, that is a contradiction. And it's not just Mukuro. They needed the class trial to kill me, but it seemed ready to kill you in your room. Everything they did is a contradiction. So what does it all mean?
In other words...
It means that the mastermind is the one who's been cornered. Huh?
Makoto.
Just a little more. A little more and I should be able to figure out the mastermind's identity. The identity of the other ultimate despair. The other ultimate despair? There's no doubt that Mukuro was the ultimate despair and that she's dead. But I don't think the ultimate despair is just one person. It's not?
Indeed.
If you think about it, the ultimate despair seems to implicate whoever caused that event. You're talking
That's
about
right.
what happened a year ago. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. Tragedy. Whoever's responsible for that, they're the ultimate despair?
Seems...
A despicable group whose only purpose and motivation comes from despair. Then they're...
Indeed.
Make no mistake. They're the root of all the evil that has forced us to go through this. That is the ultimate despair. And that is our real enemy. It's Junko. The end of chapter 5. Here's huge the Dream Island rocket present. 5 alive. The ultimate despair, a group of people who caused the tragedy 1 year ago. Those same people put together this killing game and began broadcasting it around the world. Why? So we're just saying the ultimate despair caused the tragedy because the only person who would cause the tragedy was someone who wanted to put the killing game into effect, and you assume that the despair is the one who put the killing game into effect? Most desperately awful group of people ever. That is the mastermind's true identity. Our enemy has finally been revealed. But right now we have to get out of this horrible place. Figuring out the rest of the story can come after. Yeah, you're right. Door. It's locked, but we have a way to open this door. Kyoko, do you still have that one thing? Monokuma's secret tool that you got from the headmaster's room?
Indeed.
Of course I do. It's an absolutely vital part of ensnaring the mastermind. I would never part with it. Why did you bring it up? And it can open any door in the school, right?
That's right.
That's right. Then we should be able to use it on that door, right? Hey Kyoko, we can use that key of yours to open this door, right?
It's true.
Let's find out. Kyoko took out the key with the Monokuma design on it and slid it into the keyhole, and then... Yes, it opened!
Indeed.
And now we can get out of here. Let's go. Sounds good. We quickly opened the door and made our escape from the garbage pit. Finally, we were finally free. But there wasn't even time to take a breath of relief because the real fight had just begun. Chapter 6, Ultimate Pain, Ultimate Suffering, Ultimate Despair, Ultimate Execution, Ultimate Death. Deadly life already. After leaving the garbage pit, we found ourselves in a tunnel extending straight up like a chimney. There was a metal ladder leading up into the tunnel. We started climbing the ladder, intent on reaching the surface. The ladder was impossibly long. I couldn't even see where it ended. We climbed into darkness. The passage was so dark and cramped I couldn't even see my own feet beneath me. I had no idea we were so far down.
Hey.
Don't lose your footing. If you slip, I won't be able to catch you. What a thrill. Yeah, I'll be careful. Now you said that, I'm getting kind of nervous. Maybe talking will help keep my mind off it. So Kyoko, there's something I wanted to ask you. You said you're the ultimate detective, right? So how long have you been doing detective work? How long?
So...
Ever since I can remember. I come from a long line of detectives. Detective work is in my blood. There was a time when being a detective was considered a sacred duty. My family's always seen it that way. Then, is your family famous?
Wrong.
Quite the opposite, actually. Even among actual detectives, many people haven't heard of us. But how come? It's like your family tradition, right? So...
Right.
Because we take pride in it. Pride?
Indeed.
A detective is neither light nor shadow. We represent neither justice nor evil. That is how we can uncover the absolute truth. We stand neutral in all things, and to do that, we have to stand separate from the rest of society. Which is why we've made a conscious effort to conceal our existence. A conscious effort?
It's true.
It's kind of old-fashioned, and I can't say it's entirely rational, but it's our family creed, and we do what we must to protect it. Because, like I said, it's our source of pride. Pride? So that explains... Before I came here, when was looking up info about the school online? This game can't be real. When was looking up info about the school online, I never saw anything about her. Because she had hid herself on purpose to protect the pride of her family.
However...
And yet, I gave up some of that pride. Huh? In order to enter Hope's Peak, I had to reveal myself to the school. I did it knowing it was something a true Kirigiri detective would never do. But the reason you gave up that pride, the reason you would go so far to enter Hope's Peak, it was because that's how much you wanted to reconnect with your dad, right? There's no shame in that.
What?
Reconnect? I had absolutely no desire to reconnect with my father. But you'd be reuniting after all those years, right? You would have had so much to talk about.
Wrong.
There's nothing I want to talk to my father about.
However...
There is something I want to say to him, though. What? No matter what it takes, I have to find him and tell him face to face. What is it?
So...
I want to sever all ties with him. Sever? The last time I saw him, I was still very young. So I don't remember myself, but apparently he was extremely intelligent. He was in line to become the next head of the Kirigiri family. He was talented, he had a promising future.
However...
But he had no interest in detective work. And so he cut himself off from the family. Not long after that, my mother died and he simply ran away. He went to my grandfather and they had a huge argument. And young as I was, he left me behind. I'm sure there was a reason for that. I'm sure your dad wanted to take you with him.
Right.
If that's true, then I need to thank him. Thank him for leaving me. Because unlike him, I take pride in the work that I do. I take pride in my family name. So every last part of me is happy he didn't take me with him. If I'd gone with him, I never would have had the chance to become a detective. I was above Kyoko on the ladder, so I wasn't able to see her expression. So I couldn't tell. I couldn't see how she looked when she said that, what she might have been feeling. All I could tell was that compared to her usual self, she was more talkative and more emotional. I don't blame him, you know. He had his own life to live. That's what anyone in my position might say, right? But it's not true.
However...
There's one thing I can never forgive. Really?
So...
The way everyone else looked at me. I was never sad about being left behind. Like I said, I think it was a good thing.
However...
But when the rest of my family looked at me, they saw something different. They only saw me as the little girl that was abandoned by her father. That's how they see me even to this day. His shadow has been following me my entire life. I'm sick of it. I need him out of my life. I need to step out of his shadow.
Correct.
That's why I have to find him and tell him we're no longer family. In order to settle the past. In order to remove him from my life forever. I have no doubt he forgot about me years ago. But your family! They just cut him out like that!
Wrong.
Our only connection is through blood. Nothing more. Are we connected by heart and soul? No.
Okay.
Is blood really enough to call someone family? Only connected by blood, not by heart or soul. I was so shocked to hear her say something like that, I didn't know how to respond. So instead, I fell off the ladder. I said nothing. I just kept climbing the ladder in complete silence, and after I don't know how long, we finally reached the top. It's locked. Looks like this is it.
Indeed.
On the other side of this door, Hope's Peak is waiting for us. This is the hatch in the garbage room, then? We're back.
That's right.
It's way, way too big for the hatch in the garbage room, but whatever. Remember that hatch on the ground near the trash room? I'm fairly certain that's where we'll come out. I unlocked it earlier, so it should be open without much trouble. You unlocked it? You knew we were gonna fall in the... What? How could you possibly have known he was gonna end up in the trash? And if you knew that, why did you tell him about the key if you were just going to follow him? And why did you follow him by jumping down the trash chute rather than climbing down the ladder? Oh, and all the questions. Oh. That's all for now. Next video on the channel is a compilation of moments where I was panicking and scared. Happens quite a lot, after which is more of Danganronpa. Thank you so very much for coming around. Hopefully we'll see you around. Animal's gonna be out of here now. Peace. Watch God. Sunrise is mine. Termination is Yomigami. That's mine. Right. Okay, cool. That was fun. Now I understand what this whole side path is about. If it was just for the clover and the treasure chest, I would have thought that was really weird. And in a minute, you're gonna see me poke up on the bottom of the map. Yay! I'm back to this land.